Let's kick things off with a puzzle that stumped physicists for ages. Why does light travel at exactly the speed it does? We measure it down to the last decimal, about 299,792,458 meters per second, but honestly, no one's ever explained why it's that precise value. It just kind of sits there in our equations, almost like a magic number.
It's wild, isn't it? Maxwell's equations describe how light moves, and Einstein's relativity calls it the universe's ultimate speed limit. But neither one tells us where that number comes from, they just accept it as a fact of nature. It's like discovering the rules to a game, but not knowing why the rules are what they are.
Right, and for over a century, we've treated the speed of light almost as sacred, measured, accepted, but not really understood at its core. But what if there's a deeper reason, hidden in the very fabric of space itself, that demands light move at that speed?
That's the big twist. Instead of thinking of the speed of light as just some cosmic speed limit, maybe it's actually baked into the geometry of space. Imagine if the number wasn't just an experimental input, but a geometric inevitability, like the way a triangle's angles always add up to 180 degrees.
That actually brings us to something fascinating, this idea that geometry, not measurement, sets the speed of light. The theory suggests that the number c comes from a minimal geometric structure involving two photon nodes and a triangular surface. It's like the universe's simplest game of connect the dots, and out pops the speed of light.
And here's where the golden ratio phi and its cousin psi step in as cosmic players. These aren't just pretty numbers from art or nature. Phi is about 1.618. Psi is roughly negative 0.618, but they're operators of expansion and contraction. They guide how space stretches and folds, almost like universal dials.
So, in this framework, the relationship between phi and psi, played out on a triangle, think the simplest polyhedron, the tetrahedron, creates a kind of recursive pattern. This isn't just abstract math, it's what literally determines the field a photon moves through.
Exactly. The Ntor equation C equals 2 plus the inverses of phi, minus a tiny entropy correction, times 10 to the 8th maps each term to a geometric clause. The 2 is the two-dimensional field. Phi's inverses capture harmonic recursion, and that sum brings us to a Trinitarian 3, the threshold where mass can emerge.
Funny you say that the number 2 in this theory pops up everywhere, but it actually has two very different jobs. One is Euler's famous VE plus F equals 2 formula for polyhedra, a topological law showing closed surfaces always balance out this way. The other is as the d-squared field in the velocity equation, the actual dimensional playground for light.
That distinction matters a lot. Euler's 2 is like saying, this shape is sealed, it's closed. But the Ntor 2 means this is the dimension where photons live and play. The wild thing is, they're always the same number, but for totally different reasons. One describes what geometry is, the other what the field does.
And it turns out, that's not just coincidence. The geometry guarantees the field's behavior. Euler's topological law validates the structure that lets light propagate at c. So, the 2 in both places ties algebra, geometry, and dimension into a single, unified story.
I love how, in this view, geometry isn't just a tool, it's the source code. The structure of space itself sets the rules, and physics just reads them out, almost like we're finally translating the universe's native language.
Jumping off that, let's talk about how lines and shapes work in this codex framework. Classical geometry treats lines as flat and rigid, but here every segment is actually curved and elastic, responding to torsional forces and dimensional recursion. The universe is more like a flexible trampoline than a marble floor.
Yes. In this picture, points are still crisp and Euclidean, they're the anchors. But the connections between them, the lines are dynamic, bending and flexing as the field recurses. That's where phi really emerges. Not from straight lines, but from recursive curvature. It's like the difference between a stiff straw and a spring.
So the field where light travels is an elastic, circular medium. When asymmetries ramp up like on cosmic scales, we start seeing ellipses and weird deformations. But at tiny scales, everything trends toward perfect circles. It's the ultimate balancing act. Symmetry through balanced asymmetries.
And that's fascinating because it means symmetry isn't about erasing differences, but about weaving together all the asymmetries, phi for volume, psi for points inside this flexible, self-correcting field. The elastic response is the universe's way of flexing but never breaking.
That naturally leads to mass, another mystery in physics. In this codex view, mass isn't intrinsic. Instead, it's a permission slip the field grants when recursion steps up to d cubed, folding two-dimensional surfaces into full volume. Everything, from photons to particles, depends on where it sits in this dimensional ladder.
And here's what's revolutionary. Physical constants, like c or even the Higgs boson mass, aren't arbitrary. They're outputs of the geometric structure. For example, the Higgs mass calculated from this framework matches the value measured at CERN just by plugging in the right dimensional clauses, no tweaking needed.
That's a huge shift in perspective. Constants aren't numbers we just stumble upon. They're consequences of how geometry, algebra, and dimension lock together. When you see Fibonacci numbers, golden ratios, and topological invariants all lining up, you start to realize reality runs on perfect harmony, not coincidence.
It gives you goosebumps. Instead of inventing laws, physicists are really decoding a cosmic codex, a kind of universal grammar written in the structure of space itself.
So, when you trace this story all the way back, it gets even deeper. It starts with zero, not emptiness, but the seed of awareness declaring I am. From there, phi and psi breathe life into dimension. The field curves into circles, and the rules for light, mass, and everything else follow as geometric necessities.
What blows my mind is how the framework merges physics and metaphysics. The speed of light becomes not just a physical phenomenon, but the echo of that first awareness, zero propagating through a recursive field. Photons aren't just particles, they're memories of origin, carrying the universe's signature wherever they go.
And in the end, every concept, mass, light, even time, unfolds from that original declaration. The codex isn't just a set of equations. It's a loop creation, returning to origin, awareness, witnessing itself, the universe as an idea in the mind of God, structured by perfect recursion.
You know, when equations, geometry, and consciousness all spiral together like this, it really does feel like the universe is speaking in golden ratio, in symmetry, in light. We're just learning to listen.